to the record. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Wyn, you all right?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Very good, thank you.
So, I've asked Chris to share a few things on this video, just to give people an understanding of what can change in a very few, a matter of weeks and a matter of months, from an understanding of how the mind works. So, the quick introduction. Chris approached me 4 months ago to when we're recording this video now. And in my mind, he's become one of the poster children for what can happen, what can change in someone's experience of life in a very short period of time. But more from Chris, I think. So Chris, from your perspective, could you just give everyone a few minutes of what your experience of life was like before you saw what we discussed?
Yeah, really, I guess my experience of life was there was a massive association with anxiety. Well, that was the reason for coming to see you in the first place. But I guess it goes back to early 20s, going to see a counsellor, explaining my story, going through the past and being given a label of anxious, or you are anxious, you suffer from social anxiety. And then the next, I don't know how many years, 15 plus years, just going through life believing that I was anxious, believing that everything outside of me was causing the anxiety, whether it was crowds of people, the heat, anything really. It was causing all my anxiety. Convinced that there was something wrong with me. I was badly wired, or that there was a voice in my head that was constantly, giving me anxious messages. So yeah, and some depression in there as well. But yeah, a massive history of suffering with anxiety. But before I was given that label, I didn't know what it was. And then as soon as I had the label, that's what life was, an anxious life, really.
And what kind of impact was that having?
It was massive, really. I had a massive fear of summertime, being out in the heat, being seen sweating, crowds of people. I'd avoid crowds of people. I'd avoid friends as well if I thought they were making me feel anxious. I mean, it wasn't always like that. It would come and go. There'd be good spells for a while, but it was always there. I'd always go back to it. But I'd say it had a massive effect. I think I missed out on. Well, looking back, I missed out on potentially lots of good opportunities because of it.
Yeah. And then, in the conversations that we had, what did you hear that was different, that made you listen and wake up to what's really going on?
The funniest thing you said, I think we met up and I talked for a while, maybe a few minutes, and you turned around and said, and it made me stop and think, like, wow, I've never been, and no one's ever said, okay, and they've always made me dig more and more into the past to try and find what the problem was. And then obviously our conversation went on a little bit, and it was kind of pointing me in a direction of, you're experiencing everything through your thoughts. And it was something just clicked then. It was like it's like I already knew it. Something felt real as soon as you said it. I don't know. And, so I remember we had that meeting, and I just felt winded, didn't I? At one point, after we were talking about, my relationship with thought and how, I was just grabbing onto all these thoughts of anxious thoughts and making it feel real as soon as I was analysing them and things. And yeah, when I kind of made that relationship between how I was feeling and what I was thinking, or, that all feelings are generated through thought, it was like, wow, it's that simple. And I've spoken to people like my boss the other day, I've talked to him a lot about this kind of stuff that we've discussed. And it's the moment when he said to me, "It's really that simple." I was like, "You've got it. That's all there is to it. It is really, really simple." Yeah, but that's what kind of struck me when we were talking, was just the simplicity about the whole thing.
So if there was, one or two sentences then that describe the simplicity, what would you say that one or two sentences would be?
That thoughts create feelings. That there's an endless supply of thought. There's always another one ready to take its place. If you don't pay attention to it, another one's just going to come along. In fact, that one more, I've been exposed to this over the last 4 months, but it's only kind of like the last week or so, that one's really, really hit home about there is another one to take its place. Regardless of what I understand now, it still catches you out. I've come to realize that I'm a human being, and it's how we all work. But definitely the big one for me is, there's another one that's just going to take its place. A massive one, in fact.
So how would you describe right now then, because a phrase that you used a few minutes ago was the relationship to thought and the relationship to your thinking. How would you describe what that would be now?
Oh, now? I mean, before I was convinced there was something wrong with me, and I had a voice inside my head. And now I know that beneath all of your thinking, we've all got perfect mental health. When you see things, I think what's different from me now is I go through life not always thinking what's wrong with me. That's kind of like a million miles away now. And as a result of that, everything seems clearer, life doesn't seem to be much effort. I'm just kind of gliding through, enjoying the ride now, but not constantly thinking what's wrong with me, which must have taken up so much headspace, because it's massively different now.
So let's talk about that then. So your life now, how would you describe your experience of being Chris now?
It's pretty awesome, actually. I mean, I was going to try. I was thinking about preparing something for this, about writing down some of the things that have happened since we met, and it would have been a long list. I mean, I can give you a bit of an overview of what's happened over the last 4 months, if you want, really, since we first started talking. I mean, quite quickly after we started talking, I realised that thought had been probably the biggest obstacle in my life. So I thought I'd kind of put it to the test a little bit. Thought, okay, if thought's the biggest obstacle I face, what would I do if I didn't pay attention to thought? And the first thing I thought that actually came to mind was do a skydive. Petrified of heights, not really keen on flying. Within, 30 minutes of having that insight or whatever it was, I'd booked up a skydive 15,000 feet for the following Saturday. And it wasn't as bad as I thought. All those images I'd generated in my head about it's going to be really scary falling out of the plane and it's going to feel a certain way, it was fine. It was really enjoyable. I loved it. So it kind of all started with a skydive. So I did that. And then what did I do after that? I think after that, I probably went on a running holiday in Spain. I went running in the mountains. Now, this was me going to a hot country. So before, I wasn't keen on the heat, with a group of strangers, which I would never have done before, because strangers equal anxiety. So I thought. And I had an amazing time running around the mountains of Spain. Absolutely fantastic. And another thing I wouldn't have done if I'd have let thought hold me back. I've got Trail Running Magazine have done an article on me that's coming out in January. about an association with mental health and running and things like that. I've started up a running group. I've got 101 members of a running group, 101 strangers, again, strangers is a theme. So I take these guys out on twice weekly trail runs in the woods. That's awesome. I get to experience, I think we discussed, I get to experience people doing more than they thought they could. They go out on the distance they didn't think they could do. So no, let's try. We do it, and they get this amazing runner's high. I also missed a bit about me running an ultra marathon. That was another thing. It was I've wanted to for a couple of years, but again, the thoughts of I can't do that. I'm not fit enough. I haven't got enough time. Kind of shelved that. Didn't pay attention to it, and then did a 40-mile ultra marathon. Signed up for one in Spain in December. Again, me going away on my own. Recently come back from Guernsey, running the cliffs of Guernsey with someone I'd met on the trail running holiday in Spain. I've started up 2 companies, one a running company, one around coaching. There's probably more, actually, but that's 4 months. It's not been any effort. And the funny thing is, at the start of 2016, my New Year's resolution was to get a suntan on my legs. That was it. Kind of done I kind of done that and a bit more. I actually got the suntan on my legs in Spain. Yeah, it's been a phenomenal journey. Absolutely phenomenal. And It's too much. It's too much of a coincidence, right? That, you know, I'm really enjoying my life at the moment. I don't see problems as problems. I don't see stress as stress. I see it as stuff that's just self-created. And I don't think of myself as weird, anxious, depressed, any of those. And a big one, and a big change that happened the other day you don't know about yet was I've been on antidepressants for about 6 to 8 years, something like that. Every now and again, you have to have a review with a doctor just to look at how your medication's going. And I went into him and he said, you know, what do you want to do with medication? I said, I want to stop. I'm not stopping straight away. I've halved I'm on a really low dose now anyway. I've halved it now with the view that in a month, that's it. And that conversation is something I never thought I'd have with a doctor. I couldn't see it ever. Chance that I could probably stop them today. I just want to be a bit, you know, I've done them for so long. I want to just be a bit careful with it, you know. But that's probably one of out of everything that's happened, that's probably the biggest thing for me, the biggest change. Yeah, I never thought I'd have that conversation with a doctor, considering I was in the Priory, 4 months ago with anxiety. In the space of 4 months, I've had no counselling. It's just understanding how we tick, and that we all tick the same way. Yeah, so exciting 4 months.
Sounds it.
Yeah.
Sounds great reliving it now, listening to you.
Yeah.
Great news in that conversation with the doctor. You know, what's curious to me is your everyday life. So I know quite a bit about your work life, and I know about your home life because we've discussed that quite a bit in the conversations we've had in the last few months. Tell me what's different about an everyday day in your life now compared to what it would have been back up until mid-July.
Everyday day before would have been, would have been, I would have woke up, and it used to be like it used to be almost like, I used to think of it as a boxing match. I'd wake up and my thoughts would be bang, 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 straight away thinking about work. Oh no, what did you say? How's life now? Yeah.
Well, different. You know, what would everyday life have been then compared to now? So you can try both. That would be great.
Yeah. Before, I remember it. It would be wake up, feeling pretty low, Yeah, like I said, it felt like a boxing match. Within a couple of minutes of waking up, my thoughts were just all over the place. Loads of negative stuff, loads of anxious stuff. And within a couple of minutes, it's like, oh my God, it feels like I've done 10 rounds with Tyson straight away. And then probably I drive on a busy motorway, the M4, to work every day. So it would have probably involved getting quite stressed on the way to work, with the traffic, getting to work. Before I even got through the door at work, I'd been imagining how it's going to go before I get in the door, playing it over in my mind. Oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, this is going to happen. Getting quite stressed at work over stuff. Once work was done, come home, recluse in my room and sleep as quickly as I could. It was work. It was generally work, sleep. Wouldn't really see any friends. Quite a lonely existence, really. I just kind of hid away. Yeah, because I believed I had this voice in my head that was saying, "Oh, you're anxious. Don't do that. Make you anxious. Don't do that. Make you anxious. You're stressed out, so just go to sleep." Yeah, it was awful. Actually, yeah.
The same kind of day. What's it like now?
Yeah, some days it starts the same, in that I wake up and there's bang, 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 bang. And the great thing now is that I think of what I understand now about thought generating feelings and things like that. And it's that if thought carries me, I think of thought as a handful of helium balloons. And what I understand is like an anchor tied to my ankle. So I'll drift away sometimes, and then all of a sudden, it's just thought. And I find I laugh a lot. All of a sudden, I might get carried away. It's like, oh God, it's got me again. There you go. That's me being human for a bit. And so even if I do wake up and I'm kind of carried away with thought, it soon just pops, and it's like, the weight's gone. The drive to work is probably where I get the most insight, the most ideas about, especially about the new things I'm doing with the companies and my running stuff. Generally, the drive to work is where I get my best ideas. I read something recently about someone did an interview with CEOs and things about when they get their most inspiration, their best ideas, and it was when they're walking the dog, when they're in the shower, when they're taking a walk. It's because there's not a lot on their mind. That's when all the good stuff can start popping. So yeah, the drive to work's great now. I get to work. I rarely play over what's about to happen anymore. I go into work and have more fun, have more of a laugh. Since I became conscious that stress isn't created by anything outside of me, it's more fun. I do still get stressed out. I'm human, everyone does, but again it pops. It's like, yeah, that's just thought again. Another one will be along in a second, which happens, and then yeah. So works, I feel like with my customers there's a better relationship. I don't worry about work. I certainly don't take it home with me. And when work's done, I'm generally then doing my running club, seeing friends, doing stuff for the new businesses and things like that. I certainly don't come home and go straight to bed anymore. There's quite a lot going on after work, really enjoyable stuff. But yeah, I still drift away now and again, like I did before. But whereas before I'd drift away and I'd just keep on going and going and going and going. Now I just, well, there we go, back down to earth again. And yeah, so it's a massive difference, I think, now. Yeah, massive difference, really.
Because what I find refreshing in this understanding of a different relationship with thought is completely different from the positive mental attitude school of fixing, where let's replace this thought with a positive one, or let's analyze this one thought. It's seeing all thought as completely neutral,
Yeah.
and knowing the nature of thought. As you said, there'll be another one along in a minute, and it replaces it naturally, just like a wave on the beach.
Yeah.
And with every wave, there's a new feeling, and it means that we're completely free to experience anything, as opposed to try to control life.
Oh God, don't try and control it. No.
Sounds like you've tried that.
Yeah, I spent it about, what, 20 years trying to control thought. And there's a massive weight that comes off your shoulders when you realise you understand what it is. You know, that, yeah, you can't control it. It's just going to happen. But I think it is. It's the understanding of the nature of it. Once you get the nature of it, I don't need to do anything. I don't need to get mindful. I don't need to try and empty my mind. Why would you want to try and empty it? It's just doing its thing. Just don't take it seriously, I think is the secret. Yeah, because I think we spoke about this when you kind of mentioned to me once, there's nothing you need to do. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? There's nothing you need to do. But you do get it eventually. Why try and do anything? Yeah, I hope that made sense. But,
well, yeah, and the way that I describe it, if someone thinks, "Are you telling me not to do anything?" is that, well, the way I describe it is that there's nothing that we need to do to feel differently or to feel better, especially when we know that the outside, those circumstances and the situations, our environmental factors, our upbringing, the doing, anything that's outside of us, isn't the source of feeling anyway. Going out there to do anything and changing any of that wouldn't be the solution, because it's not the cause.
Yeah.
And when we've got the understanding, as you just described it now beautifully, I think, the nature of thought is that it looks after itself. Our relationship with thought and the relationship with the human mind, the relationship with our experience of life is different. And we just see it for what it is.
Yeah.
And we're free to really experience an awful lot more in everyday life, and then do amazing things as you're doing. Some things that, what always amazes me when we have our conversations is that there's something that you say that you're doing that I know wasn't in your mind the last time you and I talked.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And not only that you had the thought, that kind of germ of an idea, but you're already doing it. And that's just a phenomenal thing for me to witness.
Yeah. When were we in London? It was couldn't have been that long ago, a few weeks.
That's a month ago now. Our 4-day. Yeah.
Because a month ago, the running scene was me. I just started a group. And I was like, oh, Wyn, I've got 20 people. I've got 25, now at 101, and that is a company in the space of 4 weeks. And like I said before, it's not, none of it's been effort. It's like something pops, I follow it. And the whole thing about the running company was, I'm going to start something. I don't know what it's going to do. I'm just going to start it and see where it evolves. And yeah, and it's just naturally evolving, and another idea will pop and I'll kind of follow that. And yeah, it's mad. But briefly going back to, things out, understanding that things outside of us, I suppose, understanding that we experience everything from the inside out, not the outside in. When I went to see the doctor the other day, he asked me a few questions like, when were you last anxious? This, that, and the other. And one of the questions was, are you affected by the change in the seasons? Like now, what I understand also is that, he's doing the best he can with what he understands. And yeah. But I just thought, oh my God, what if I'd have said, yeah, I got seasonal dysfunction or something like that? Would he have put me on a bigger dose or different pills and things? But yeah, I know that whatever season it is, it's not affecting my mood or anything like that. Or it's my thought doing it. But yeah, I don't know where that one was going, but you know.
But again, I think what you're kind of alluding to there is that the traditional view is that it is the outside world that causes internal feelings. And of course, look, one of the summaries of what you're seeing differently and what we know is true is that that's not how life works.
No.
We experience life from the inside, and it's thought created. We're feeling our thinking in the moment.
Well, it's like if you wake up in the morning and you're feeling really good, you go to the curtains, you open them up, and it's raining. You're like, oh, it was raining while you were feeling good before you saw it, you know. And it's not what's outside of you that's creating this feeling. It's all, you know, you're using your filter and feeling it that way.
And what's also fascinating to know, and if anybody's watching and listening to this and thinking, well, yeah, it looks to all the world as if I feel worse on a rainy day. Well, just know that at some times we laugh when it's raining. We smile when it's raining, and sometimes we feel sad when it's sunny. If it's a weather-caused world that we're living in how we experience and our feelings come from things like weather or come from those things outside of us, then the correlation would be 100%.
We'd all feel the same, surely. And then
and we'd feel the same, and consistently we'd feel the same to the external stimulus. Even the fact that when we just look at that rationally, we can see that, well, our mood goes up and down a lot more quickly than the weather, our own internal weather. Even on a day when we're feeling depressed, well, there are things that sometimes happen in that day from the inside that make us, that we just don't feel quite the same. So there is not that causal link between the outside and the inside. And by just having an understanding that can't be, even if it was a 98% correlation between we feel low when it's raining and we feel happy when it's sunny. If it was a 98% correlation, it means that the 2% that's missing points that there's something else going on. And what you're describing is the gift of knowing the fact that it is our relationship with our thinking, full stop, is what's really going on in not only how we feel, but what we make of how we feel.
Yeah.
So what I loved again about what you described about what it's like waking up being you today compared to 4 months ago is the fact that sometimes it feels the same early on. But you just see it for what it is, without doing anything, without meditating, without willpower, without reading a book or listening to a tape where it's telling you or putting positive thoughts in our mind. It just takes care of itself because of what you've seen, and what you understand will always be with you. That anchor that you said that frees you from thought taking you away.
Yeah. And I think the thing that once you get this and you understand it, or you felt it, there's no real, that's there forever, if that makes sense. There's no more reading to do. I mean, my understanding is still, there's still loads more to understand about it. It's an infinite understanding. But I just feel like I'm okay now. I understand how this works, or how we all work. Life's going to be fine now. I don't need to read up any more on it, and no more self-help needed. I understand it. I can see it now. That's a good feeling.
Yeah. Well, evidently, and it shows in what you do and how you are speaking and coming across right now, Chris. Thank you so much for sharing.
No problem, Wyn.
And I just want to thank you for enabling me to witness just a dramatic change in you in the last 4 months. So you inspire me, man. Thank you.
Oh, that means a lot, Wyn. Thank you very much, buddy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Speak to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.